I am proud to create him Prince of Wales, Tywysog Cymru, the country whose title I've been so greatly privileged to bear.
Somewhere inside Buckingham Palace, a king battling cancer just signed a document that quietly rewrote the rules of one of the oldest institutions on Earth. No press conference, no televised address, no fanfare from the palace gates, just a signed order, a transfer of authority, and a woman who was once dismissed by tabloids as a commoner from Berkshire, now holding custodial power over the most symbolically potent objects in the entire British royal tradition. If you have been paying attention to the signals coming out of the palace over the past 18 months, this moment did not come as a surprise. But if you have only just caught the headline, prepare yourself, because what King Charles III has just done is far more consequential than any breaking news ticker will tell you. Let us begin with the foundation of everything. King Charles III is ill. That is not speculation, not tabloid gossip, not the kind of vague royal whisper that gets amplified into something larger than it is. It is documented, confirmed, and publicly acknowledged. In early 2024, Charles underwent what palace officials described as a routine procedure for an enlarged prostate. During that procedure, doctors discovered something entirely unexpected: cancer. Buckingham Palace, consistent with its long-standing tradition of medical privacy, declined to specify the type. What they did confirm, and the careful wording here matters enormously, was that the cancer discovered was not prostate cancer. Something else was found. Something separate. Something serious enough to force the King of the United Kingdom to immediately step back from the full weight of his public-facing duties. The world waited. Then, in December of 2025, King Charles appeared in a video message broadcast on Channel 4's Stand Up to Cancer fundraiser. His words were carefully chosen, as they always are in these moments. He told viewers that thanks to early diagnosis, effective intervention, and adherence to medical guidance, his cancer treatment schedule could be reduced in the new year. The world exhaled. Headlines celebrated. But those who read beyond the first sentence caught the word that changed everything. Reduced. Not ended. Not concluded. Not cured. Reduced. His cancer, according to palace insiders speaking to royal correspondents in the months that followed, was not in full remission. It was being managed. It was being treated. But it had not been defeated. And inside the palace, in the private briefings that never make it to the front pages, the word being used to describe the king's condition was a word that no one on the outside was meant to hear. Precarious. A precarious king does not sit still. A precarious king who has spent his entire 77 years preparing to lead an institution that stretches back over 1,000 years does not leave things to chance. A precarious king prepares. And that is precisely what Charles III has been doing, quietly and methodically, in a series of decisions that individually might seem like administrative housekeeping, but collectively form a picture that is impossible to ignore. To understand the full weight of what has just happened, you have to understand what came before it. In June of 2025, royal journalist Richard Palmer, one of the most respected correspondents covering the British monarchy, described what he called one of the most significant constitutional moves of the current reign. King Charles officially invited Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, to become grantaires of royal warrants, beginning in spring of 2026. For most people outside the United Kingdom, the phrase royal warrant does not carry the immediate gravity it deserves. So let us be precise about what it means. A royal warrant is the official seal of approval from the Crown. It is the mechanism by which the monarchy endorses businesses, suppliers, and craftspeople as holding the highest standard of royal recognition. Since ascending to the throne in September of 2022, King Charles had held this power exclusively, him and Queen Camilla alone. No other member of the royal family. No exceptions. Until now. By inviting William and Catherine into this role, Charles did something that no British monarch has done with a Prince and Princess of Wales within living memory. He handed them real monarchical power ahead of schedule, and Catherine, in receiving this designation, made history that the history books have not yet fully caught up with. Catherine, Princess of Wales, became the first Princess of Wales to grant royal warrants in 116 years. The last woman to hold the title of Princess of Wales who also held this power was Queen Mary, and she carried that title before 1910. Even Princess Diana, arguably the most publicly beloved Princess of Wales of the modern era, never held this authority. Let that land fully. Not even Diana. But the royal warrants were only the beginning. Because what has just been announced, the order that King Charles has just signed, takes every signal that came before it and renders it impossible to misinterpret. King Charles III has formally elevated Catherine, Princess of Wales, to the position of sole guardian of the crown jewels. Not shared guardianship, not ceremonial access, not an honorary title with no structural weight behind it. Sole guardian. The word sole is doing extraordinary work in that sentence, and we are going to return to it. First, it is worth pausing to understand what the crown jewels actually represent, because the temptation for those who have not grown up steeped in British constitutional tradition is to imagine them as beautiful objects behind glass in a tower, interesting to tourists and meaningful at coronations, but otherwise largely ceremonial. That understanding is profoundly incomplete. The crown jewels are the physical embodiment of the British monarchy's legitimacy, continuity, and authority. They are housed in the Jewel House at the Tower of London, a fortress that has stood for nearly 1,000 years. The collection contains over 23,500 precious gemstones, and its monetary value is considered, without exaggeration, incalculable. Among the most significant pieces is the Imperial State Crown, the crown worn by the sovereign following the coronation ceremony as they process out of Westminster Abbey. It holds 2,868 diamonds alone, along with 273 pearls, 17 sapphires, 11 emeralds, and 5 rubies. Embedded within it is the legendary Cullinan 2 diamond, cut from the largest gem-quality rough diamond ever discovered. Also set within the crown is the Black Prince's ruby, a 170-carat red spinel with a documented history stretching back to the 14th century, and the Stuart sapphire, a stone linked directly to King Charles II. Then there is St. Edward's crown, the actual coronation crown, made in 1661, used only for the precise moment of crowning. King Charles III wore it at Westminster Abbey on May 6, 2023, the first coronation in 70 years. The sovereign's orb and scepter, symbols of divine and earthly authority respectively, complete the core of a collection that represents not just wealth, but the unbroken thread of British monarchical history itself. Whoever guards these objects guards something far more powerful than diamonds, and that person is now Catherine. The word soul deserves its own examination. The crown jewels are formally held in trust by the reigning monarch and managed on a day-to-day basis by historic royal palaces, the independent charity that administers the Tower of London and other significant royal sites. The Jewel House has been the home of the collection since the 17th century, guarded by the yeoman warders, the famous beefeaters, and protected by security systems of extraordinary sophistication. But the symbolic guardianship, the constitutional authority that governs when and how these objects are used, who wears them, which ceremonies they appear in, and how they are presented to the world, that authority belongs to the monarch. By designating Catherine as sole guardian, Charles is not giving her a ceremonial gift. He is placing the institutional memory and physical continuity of the crown itself in her hands. He is saying, with the full legal weight of a signed order behind him, that when the monarchy transitions, these will pass with her, not around her. not after her. With her, the fact that this is a sole designation, not shared with William, not shared with Camilla, not distributed among senior members of the family, speaks to something that transcends protocol. It speaks to succession, because the crown jewels do not simply belong to the next monarch in a vacuum. They belong to the next chapter of the crown's story, and the person Charles has just identified as the keeper of that story is Catherine. This brings us to a dimension of this announcement that has received almost no serious analysis. The Camilla question. Camilla, queen consort, elevated to the full title of queen during Charles's reign, is his wife. She is the sitting queen. If guardianship of the crown jewels were to be delegated to any woman in the royal family through conventional, protocol-driven logic, the name that would arise first would be hers. She holds the senior position. She has worked diligently over